And there it is, a tradition that's absolutely meaningless. Our third annual Masters podcast here on KRFOradio.com. My name is Jason Iacovino. Pleased to be joined for the third straight year now on Masters Sunday by my brother Phil Iacovino, who's going to spend the next few segments with me discussing mostly golf, but the world of sports and life in general, I suppose, to a certain extent. And as we're recording this, final round coverage has just begun. The leader's about to tee off here with Jordan Spieth having a one-shot lead heading into this final round in 2016. Welcome aboard, Phil.
Yeah, great to do this again. Kind of like you said, a meaningless tradition, third year in a row, but it's one I've come to enjoy. And last year we were up in Minneapolis. This year we're back down in Owatonna and excited to talk some golf and some sports and really see some exciting stuff. Today, my favorite Sunday, I think I've said it the last couple of years, but it's my favorite Sunday of the year, Masters Sunday.
Yep, and it's my favorite time of year for sports with Major League Baseball in its first week and the NCAA tournament wrapping up last weekend with, last Monday night with a pretty incredible final game there. Might touch on that with Villanova stunning North Carolina at the buzzer. Although I think it was North Carolina that stunned Villanova with an amazing
comeback.
Well, just a comeback and then a desperation three to tie the game with 4.7 seconds to go. But ultimately, you can't do much better than winning a national championship at the Horn like that. So that's pretty incredible for a Villanova team that they were a number 2 seed, but I don't think a lot of people had them going all the way.
No, I don't. I mean, pretty good program as far as basketball is concerned over the last few years, and the tournament in general. I guess it was pretty. The first weekend was great this year. A lot of upsets, really exciting games down to the wire. I didn't, the second round and into the Elite Eight, I didn't think was all that exciting, but the Final Four really was awesome. All games, kind of blowouts, obviously, but, pretty exciting to see Syracuse make a run there and Boeheim come back from his suspension. And then always cool to have a storied program like North Carolina. And it was just kind of a fun tournament.
I think overall the tournament was not as exciting as it has been in years past.
That first weekend, though, was great.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use great. There were a couple good games. You had the double Stephen F. Austin in double overtime over Purdue was a fun one. In Northern Iowa had 2 fun ones. They won with a half-court shot that banked in their first game. And then in their second game, unfortunately, they melted down as A&M erased a 12-point deficit in the final 35 seconds or something like that. Just an unbelievable sequence there. And then A&M ends up winning that game in double overtime. So a little yin and yang there. But
do you feel like college basketball has kind of lost a little bit of the madness in March, though? I'm kind of in that camp. Maybe I'm a minority, but to me, it doesn't have the same draw that it used to have.
Maybe not, because, I don't know if it's just a situation where a lot of basketball purists say that the quality of play has gone down and it's diluted and you don't have these...
Because of the one-and-dones going.
Right, you don't have these power programs. Certainly you still have power programs. I mean, you look up, with all the upsets and everything, you look up at the Elite Eight, and who do you see there? You see Kansas, you see North Carolina, Syracuse was a...
Oregon, I mean, that's not really a basketball. You don't think that when you see that.
Right. You don't, although they were a number 1 seed. Virginia was a number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Syracuse is, I guess, the Cinderella this year, but they're certainly a name that you know and a coach that's
Syracuse
got a power
probably,
program.
I mean, it maybe got in on into the tournament based on reputation and recognition alone, not based on merit.
Oh, it helped, for sure. They probably objectively would not have been in, were it not for their... But then that translated, and that's part of it, too. I mean, you should get a bump for the coach and for what you've done in the past, because there is a possibility that'll happen again, and it certainly did with them. That was a heck of a run for them. But North Carolina, those games on Saturday were just huge blowouts.
Yeah.
And I really felt...
Especially that Villanova. Oklahoma didn't stand a chance for the word go.
But I really felt like North Carolina was going to win the thing kind of going away once I saw who the Final Four were. I thought, well, this is going to be a cakewalk for North Carolina, and give Villanova credit. I mean, they stuck in there, and Jay Wright has been there for quite a while now. They've kind of had a reputation of not making it past the first weekend, and this year not only did they do that, They end up winning the whole thing. So we're going to talk golf, though, primarily today. And Bernhard Langer, I think, hit one right up the middle there on 1 to start his round.
What a story.
I felt like, CBS, it is a heck of a story. If he'd have parred his final hole yesterday, he'd be in the final pairing today with Jordan Spieth. And they kind of were treating him like an afterthought yesterday, which I guess is sort of okay. I mean, they showed so much of Jason Day's round, and as it turns out, Bernhard Langer beat his playing partner Jason Day yesterday and is one shot ahead of him. Bernhard Langer starts this day in third place, tied for third, 2 back of the lead in the Masters at 58 years old. That's unreal.
Well, let me say this, Jason. First of all, I've already said this is my favorite Sunday, but this is also one of my favorite tournaments. I love this tournament. I love the broadcast. I love everything about it. I'll say this though: if Freddie Couples was in Bernhard Langer's shoes, it would have been a different story. We would have seen every shot. He would have been in. I think Bernhard made it to Butler Cabin eventually, but I mean, we would have seen, and it's probably just because he's a European player. Well known in the golf community, obviously. If you know anything about the Charles Schwab Cup and the Champions Tour, you know that he's dominated that tour for the last 5 or 6 years. But really, to the average golf fan who watches, kind of starts out their season watching the Masters, they don't know who Bernhard Langer is.
Right. But you mentioned the Champions Tour. I think there's an assumption by most of us that's, not only. Is that the B squad? I mean, those guys can't compete with the PGA Tour.
No, but Augusta is the one place that if you want it, you have a lifetime exemption, and B, if you've been here enough, and if you bring your A game, course knowledge and experience,
But there's a difference between, you mentioned lifetime exemption, there's a difference between guys like Ian Woosnam and even Larry Mize who made the cut.
Well, they don't play the Champions Tour, though. Those guys don't play.
True, yeah, and so, but still, I mean, what would happen if you threw Tom Lehman into this tournament? Would he be 2 shots off the lead?
Absolutely not. No.
I mean, this amazing play, despite the fact that he's dominating the Champions Tour.
Jason, I am saying that I think it's a story. I think it needs to be, covered more, or maybe, we'll see how today unfolds, obviously. But I'm saying that if it would have been Fred Couples, a guy that everybody knows. Everybody had Ashworth shirts back in the '90s because Fred Couples wore them. Yep. So Bernhard just doesn't have that Ricky Fowler appeal, I guess, that the masses seem to like.
Or Jordan Spieth. You've got the Under Armour gear on yourself.
I happen to have a little bit of. I have a little connection with the Under Armour. That's why I wear it. But yeah,
it's good stuff. I love Jordan Spieth, by the way. I'm pulling for Langer today because I just think you can't make it up now. He is in the second cut, I guess. We can do a little play-by-play here in our last half minute of this first segment of our podcast as the leaders are about to tee off. The final group, I should say, about to tee off. Langer is going to hit his second shot here on 1 from just the second cut. Looks like a pretty good look, though. This is a long hole. Tough starting hole. He's got 170. He was outspoken about the fact that,
hits the pin. Unfortunate.
Did that hit the pin?
Hit the pin.
He almost dunked that in on a hop and ends up way long, but is that what happened? That hit the pin and ricocheted?
Unlucky.
He was very outspoken yesterday. He's not complaining about it, but not shy to point out, look, I'm 40 yards behind Jason Day off the tee on every hole. And
everybody's 40 yards behind Jason Day off the tee. That's true.
But
not just Bernhard.
Not getting the same spin, and his shots are sometimes bounce up. But all right, we'll take a break. Back with the second segment of our Masters podcast on KRFORadio.com.